There's a seductive promise that whispers to us from the shelves of bookstores, from the glowing screens of our devices, and from the quiet desperation of our own late-night resolutions. It is the promise of mastery. It tells us that the mind is a wild animal that can be tamed, a messy room that can be organized, a chaotic signal that can be tuned into a frequency of pure, unwavering focus. We believe that if we can just build a high enough dam, we can stop the river. We believe that the more we control the internal architecture of our thoughts, the freer we become. We equate discipline with liberation, but there is a darker side to this architectural endeavor. What if the walls you are building to keep the chaos out are actually the walls of a cell? What if this control is quietly suffocating you, like an invisible noose that tightens by a fraction of a millimeter? Every time you try to force your mind into silence, we rarely ask if the cage we build for our demons is the same cage we eventually have to live in. Ron is a man who built a very impressive cage. At 37, he is the head of a department at a prestigious IT logistics firm, a role that demands the cognitive precision of a surgeon and the endurance of a marathon runner. To the outside observer, Ron is not just successful, he is the prototype of the modern, optimized human. He is a sculpture of efficiency, chiseled out of the raw marble of human potential by the sheer force of will. His life is a testament to the power of the schedule. There is no drift in Ron's world, no wasted motion. His day begins in the pitch black of the pre-dawn, at exactly 5 o'clock. The alarm does not ring. It vibrates on his wrist, a haptic nudge that he obeys instantly. There is no snooze button in Ron's philosophy. To snooze is to negotiate with weakness, and Ron does not negotiate. He rises from a bed that is made with military precision before he even steps away from it. The sheets are white, crisp, and pulled taut. The first ritual is the shower. It is not a place for waking up or enjoying the warmth. It is a tool. He turns the handle all the way to the right, to the blue mark. The water is freezing. It hits the skin like a shock wave, a physical assault that forces a sharp inhale. Ron stands under the icy needle spray for exactly 3 minutes. He counts the seconds. He visualizes his nervous system hardening, his will calcifying into something impenetrable. He tells himself he likes it. He tells himself that this is what separates the elite from the herd. The herd seeks comfort, the elite seek the edge. After the shower, he sits on a black cushion in the center of his living room. The apartment is minimalist, bordering on sterile. There are no knickknacks, no personal clutter, no stray papers. It looks less like a home and more like a high-end waiting room, a space designed for transition rather than habitation. Here, Ron performs the ritual of mindfulness. He sets a timer for 20 minutes. He closes his eyes. He breathes in 4 counts, holds for 4, exhales for 4, holds for 4. Box breathing, tactical breathing. He tracks his progress. He has an app that logs his streak. He has not missed a session in 4 years. He believes that if he sits here long enough, if he breathes correctly enough, he will eventually reach a state of perfect, glassy calm. He treats peace like a quarterly target, something to be acquired through strategic effort. Following the meditation comes the coffee black, no sugar, a specific single origin being ground to a specific coarseness, and the journaling. He opens a leather-bound notebook. 3 things I am grateful for. He writes quickly. The discipline to wake up early. The opportunity to lead my team. My health. He writes these words, but he does not feel them. He writes them because the research says that gratitude increases cortisol regulation and boosts subjective well-being. He is engineering his happiness and putting the correct data to receive the desired emotional output. He looks at the words on the paper, and they look like lines of code. Correct syntax, but devoid of a pulse. By the time Ron enters the glass doors of his office building, he has already conquered the morning. He walks with a brisk, purposeful stride. His colleagues call him the Iron Man. It is a nickname born of a mixture of admiration and fear. Ron never looks tired. Ron never looks stressed. Ron never misses a deadline. When a server migration fails at 2 p.m., Ron is the calm center of the storm, issuing directives with a voice that never modulates in pitch or volume. He prepares presentations that are flawless, every pixel aligned, every data point verified. He listens to his subordinates with a focused intensity that they mistake for empathy, but which is actually a rigorous scanning for information. He smiles, but the smile is a muscular contraction, a social signal deployed at the appropriate intervals to grease the wheels of interaction. He is the perfect employee. He is the perfect manager. He is the perfect machine. But a machine does not have to sleep. A machine does not have a subconscious. Ron does. The cracks do not show in the fluorescent light of the day. They appear when the sun goes down, when the emails stop, when the city outside his window turns into a blur of red taillights and distant sirens. The night is Ron's enemy. When the apartment falls silent, the control he has exerted for 16 hours begins to splinter. He lies in bed, the sheets pulled up to his chest, his body exhausted, but his mind wide awake. It is as if the dam breaks. The thoughts he suppressed with cold showers and productivity podcasts and box breathing come rushing back, amplified by their containment. They are not profound thoughts. They are petty, sharp, and relentless. Did I respond correctly to the client's objection about the timeline? I should have been firmer. I looked weak. They think I'm losing my edge. Why did Sarah look at me like that when I asked about the Q3 projections? Does she know something? Is there a conversation happening in the break room that I'm not part of? I forgot to call my mother again. I'll put it on the schedule for Saturday, 10:15 a.m. My heart rate is too high. I need to sleep. If I don't sleep now, I will be at 80% capacity tomorrow. Sleep. The iron creates a feedback loop of anxiety. He stresses about not being relaxed. He worries about his inability to stop worrying. He looks at the clock. 1:14 a.m. He calculates the remaining hours. If he falls asleep now, he gets 3 hours and 46 minutes. That is insufficient. He gets out of bed. He cannot lie there and let the thoughts win. He goes to the living room and sits on the black cushion. He will meditate the insomnia away. He will beat his brain into submission. Just watch your thoughts, he whispers to himself, repeating the instruction from the guru on his favorite podcast. Observe them like clouds passing in the sky. But these are not clouds. They are hornets. And Ron is not watching them. He is swatting at them. He sits in the lotus position, his knuckles white as he grips his knees. Stop thinking about work, he commands himself. I'm thinking about not thinking about work, his mind replies. Focus on the breath. My breath is shallow. I'm doing it wrong. I'm failing at breathing. Every thought that rises is identified as an intruder, an enemy combatant that must be neutralized. He visualizes a broom sweeping the thoughts away, but the broom is made of lead and his arms are tired. He visualizes a wall, but the thoughts seep through the cracks like water. The more he tries to empty his mind, the heavier it becomes. The silence of the room screams at him. He feels a tightness in his chest, a physical pressure, as if the invisible noose is constricting his lungs. He is the master of his reality, yet he cannot command his own neurons to cease firing for 10 seconds. He hates himself for this failure. He doubles down. He breathes harder. He concentrates fiercely on the concept of nothingness, trying to crush his internal monologue under the weight of his focus. He sits there until the gray light of dawn bleeds through the blinds, exhausted, defeated, yet ready to take his cold shower and pretend that he has won. The season turns. The air grows heavy and damp. It is a Tuesday in late November when the fluid encounters a force it cannot schedule. Ron is walking home from the office. He usually takes the subway, but a signal failure has stalled the line, and the chaos of the crowded platform is intolerable to him. He decides to walk. It is a 40-minute trek, but he can use the time to listen to an audiobook on stoic resilience. Halfway home, the sky opens up. It is not a drizzle. It is a deluge, a cold, aggressive rain that soaks through his trench coat in seconds. He seeks shelter. He ducks into the first open door he sees. It is not a Starbucks. It is not a sleek, modern co-working cafe with polished concrete floors and ambient electronica. It is a small, dusty tea house that smells of old paper, damp wool, and dried herbs. The lighting is dim, amber-colored, provided by lamps with fringed shades. The tables are mismatched wood, scarred by decades of use. It is a place that time seems to have forgotten, or perhaps, a place that has politely declined to participate in the rush of the present. Ron stands by the door, dripping, checking his watch. His schedule is disrupted. He feels the familiar itch of irritation. He needs to be home. He needs to prep his dinner steamed chicken and broccoli. He needs to do his evening stretch. He looks around. The place is empty, except for one table in the corner near a radiator. A man sits there. He looks to be about 70, perhaps older. He wears a faded cardigan and thick rimmed glasses. He is sitting with his back perfectly straight, not in a rigid, military way, but with a natural, skeletal alignment that looks effortless. There's a pot of tea in front of him and a small ceramic cup. The man is not looking at a phone. He is not reading a book. He is not looking out the window. He is simply holding the cup with both hands, feeling the warmth. He lifts it to his lips and takes a sip. The motion is slow, agonizingly slow to Ron's eyes. It is a sip that takes 10 seconds. Ron orders a tea because he has to buy something to justify staying out of the rain. He sits at a table near the old man, tapping his foot. He checks his emails on his phone. He refreshes the feed. Nothing new. He checks the weather app. Rain expected for another hour. He sighs. Loud and performative. He looks at the old man again. The man hasn't moved. He is just sitting there, breathing. He looks incredibly solid, like a stone in a river. The contrast between the old man's stillness and the frantic, buzzing energy inside Ron's own skin becomes suddenly unbearable. It feels like an accusation. "How do you do that?" Ron asks. The words come out before he can filter them. The old man turns his head slowly. His eyes are clear, dark, and amused. "Do what?" "Just sit there," Ron says. He hears the desperation in his own voice and hates it. "I've been watching you for 10 minutes. You haven't looked at a phone. You haven't fidgeted. You're just there." The old man smiles gently. "I'm drinking tea." "I'm drinking tea too," Ron says, gesturing to his cup. "But my mind is at the office. Or it's worrying about the rain. Or it's making a list for tomorrow." Ron leans forward. The dam is breaking again, here in this dusty cafe. I meditate every day. 20 minutes. I've read all the books. I practice mindfulness. But it doesn't work. The thoughts just get stronger. It's like fighting a hydra. I cut one head off to grow back. I'm exhausted. The confession hangs in the air, smelling of wet raincoat and anxiety. Ron feels foolish. He is a department head. He shouldn't be unloading his neuroses on a stranger in a tea shop. The old man places his cup down on the saucer. The sound of ceramic touching ceramic is soft, precise. "You are a fighter, I see," the old man says. His voice is raspy but warm. "You treat your mind like a territory to be conquered." "I treat it like a tool," Ron corrects. "It needs to be sharpened. It needs to be disciplined." "And when the tool cuts you?" the old man asks. "Then I need to hold it tighter," Ron says. "I need better control." The old man shakes his head. A very small movement. The samurai had a word for the state of mind required for battle. They call it Mushin. Ron nods. "I know it. No mind. Empty mind. That's what I try to achieve." Blank slate. That is the translation of the words, the old man corrects gently. But it is not the meaning of the practice. Westerners often think Mushin means a vacuum, a void where thought does not exist. This is impossible for a living human. The heart beats, the lungs expand, the mind thinks. That is its function. The old man picks up a teaspoon. He holds it up. If I hold the spoon tightly, he squeezes his fist around it, his knuckles turning white. I cannot use it. My hand is rigid. I am trapped by my own holding. If someone bumps me, the spoon flies out of my hand, or I hurt my wrist. He opens his hand. The spoon rests on his open palm. But if I hold it like this, I have it, but I do not cling to it. If I need to move it, it moves. If I need to drop it, it drops. He looks at Ron. "You are not suffering from your thoughts, young man. You are suffering from your clenching. You cling to every thought as if it were a sword before battle. You grab the worry and squeeze it to see what it is made of. You grab the silence and squeeze it until it suffocates. You are trying to freeze the river because you are afraid of getting wet. So I just let the thoughts be?" Ron asks, skeptical. "If I do that, they'll take over. I'll lose my edge. I'll become lazy. I'll forget things." "Have you ever tried?" the old man asks. "Truly tried? Not waiting for the thoughts to leave so you can be peaceful, but being peaceful while the thoughts are there? Ron stares at him. I don't know the difference. The difference, the old man says, taking another sip of tea, is the difference between a prison guard and a host. The rain stops eventually. Ron leaves the cafe. He walks the rest of the way home in the damp chill. The conversation replays in his mind, but this time, he doesn't try to analyze it. He feels a strange sensation, not relief, but a kind of confusion, a hairline fracture in his certainty. He returns to his apartment. It is 7:45 p.m. According to the schedule, this is time for professional development reading. He walks to the bookshelf, but stops. He looks at the black cushion in the center of the room. He changes into comfortable clothes. He sits on the cushion. The habit kicks in instantly. Straighten spine. Tuck chin. Set timer. He reaches for his phone to set the 20-minute alarm. His thumb hovers over the button. You are a prison guard, the old man had said. Ron puts the phone down, face down. No timer. He closes his eyes. Immediately, the assault begins. This is a waste of time without a timer. How will you measure it? You look stupid in the cafe. The old man probably thinks you're crazy. Did you send the invoice? I think you forgot the invoice. My knee hurts. I should move. The impulse to fight is overwhelming. Ron's mental muscles tense up, ready to whack the moles. Shut up. He wants to scream at his brain. Be quiet. But then, he remembers the spoon on the open palm. What if I don't squeeze? The thought about the invoice comes. It screams, urgent. Ron watches it. He feels the cortisol spike in his stomach. He feels the urge to get up and check his laptop. But he stays. He doesn't push the thought away. He doesn't argue with it. He doesn't tell himself I'm calm. He admits, I am anxious. I am worried about the invoice. He lets the worry sit there on his open palm. It is terrifying. It feels like he is standing on the edge of a cliff and leaning forward. If he doesn't control this, the chaos will consume him. He will fall apart. He will be revealed as a fraud. He sits with the terror. He sits with the noise. It is a cacophony. It is not peaceful. It is not zen. It is a messy, loud, human internal state. And then, something shifts. Not a sudden enlightenment. Not a flash of white light. He notices that the thought about the invoice, having not been fought, begins to lose its energy. It doesn't disappear, but it fades like a bell that has been struck and is now vibrating into silence. Another thought replaces it, a memory of the rain on the window. He doesn't grab that one either. He lets it come. He lets it go. He sits there for what feels like hours, or perhaps minutes. He is not clearing his mind. His mind is full of traffic. But for the first time in his life, he is not standing in the middle of the highway trying to stop the cars with his bare hands. He is sitting on the side of the road, watching them pass. The silence does not come, but the struggle stops. The war ends, not because he won, but because he put down his weapon. 6 months later, the alarm vibrates on Ron's wrist at 6 a.m. He sleeps an hour later now. The world is not collapsed because of this hour. He gets up. The bed is made, but if there's a wrinkle in the sheet, he does not smooth it out with a ruler. He takes a shower. It is warm. Sometimes, at the end, he turns it to cold for 30 seconds just to wake up, but he no longer treats it as a penance. He enjoys the warmth. He sits on the cushion. He doesn't use the app. He doesn't track the streak. Some days he sits for 10 minutes, some days for 30. Some days his mind is a still lake, other days it is a hurricane. He no longer judges the quality of the meditation. He understands now that a bad meditation is just a meditation where he saw a lot of thoughts. And seeing is the point. He walks into the office. The glass walls are the same. The deadlines are the same. The pressure is high. There's a crisis meeting at 10 a.m. A shipment has been lost. The client is furious. Old Ron would have tightened. His breath would have become shallow. He would have scanned the room for blame, prepared his defense, armored his ego. New Ron sits in the chair. He hears the client shouting over the speakerphone. He feels the familiar spike of adrenaline in his chest. Here is anger, he thinks. Here is fear. He holds the feelings on an open palm. He doesn't clench, because he isn't fighting his own internal reaction. He has bandwidth left over to actually listen to the problem. He hears the specific concern beneath the client's anger. I understand, Ron says. His voice is grounded, deeper than before because his belly is not tight. We are not going to make excuses. Here's exactly what we are going to do to fix it. He is not performing the role of the Iron Man. He is just a man solving a problem. Later that afternoon, he makes a coffee in the break room. He adds a small spoon of sugar. He watches the crystals dissolve in the dark liquid. He takes a sip. It tastes sweet, complex, and comforting. A colleague, a young junior analyst, is standing next to him, looking stressed, tapping his foot. Rough day, Ron asks. Yeah, the kid says. I can't seem to get my head straight. Too much going on. I feel like I need to just lock myself in a room and force myself to focus. You know? Ron looks at him. He sees the tension in the jaw, the white knuckles gripping the mug. He sees the invisible noose tightening. Ron smiles. It is a genuine smile, one that wrinkles the corners of his eyes. I know the feeling, Ron says. But be careful with the forcing. Sometimes, the harder you try to hold water, the faster it spills. So what do I do? The kid asks. Maybe just drink your coffee, Ron says softly. Just drink the coffee. The work will be there when you're done. Ron walks back to his desk. He has a report to finish. He has 100 emails. The noise of the world is deafening. The noise in his head is a murmur. He sits down, opens his hands, and begins to work. He is no longer empty, but he is finally open. And in that openness, for the first time, he is free. This is the paradox that we eventually must face. We spend our lives trying to build a fortress of solitude inside our skulls, believing that if we can just silence the dissenters within, we will find peace. We treat our minds like unruly classrooms that must be silenced by a stern teacher. But the mind is not a classroom, and it is not an enemy. It is a river. You can build a dam, and you will create pressure, and eventually, a flood. Or you can learn to swim. You can learn that the debris floating in the water, the worries, the doubts, the lists, the fears are just debris. They are not the water, and they are certainly not you. Freedom is not the absence of thought. It is the absence of the belief that you need to destroy your thoughts to be whole. It is the moment you open your hand, let the spoon rest there, and realize that you never needed to squeeze it in the first place. The noose only tightens when you pull. So, stop pulling, just breathe.